The first sound wasn't the tractor. It was the scream. A terrified woman shouted from somewhere outside. "Stop! What are you doing?" Then came the deafening roar of a diesel engine. I dropped my coffee and sprinted toward the front door. The moment I stepped onto my porch, my entire world froze. A massive green tractor sat in the middle of my driveway. Its steel bucket was pressed directly against my black Dodge Charger. The driver shoved the controls forward. Crunch! Metal folded like paper. Glass exploded across the driveway. The hood bent upward while the windshield shattered into thousands of glittering pieces. My dream car, the one I'd spent 6 years restoring, was being flattened in front of my own house. Standing beside the tractor with his hands folded behind his back was Damian Crow, president of the Cedar Ridge HOA. He wasn't trying to stop it. He was smiling. "Hey!" I ran toward the driveway. "What the hell are you doing?" The tractor finally stopped. The driver looked nervous. Damian calmly adjusted his expensive navy blazer as though nothing unusual had happened. "Good morning, Ethan. You destroyed my car." It was an HOA violation. I stared at him. "What?" He pulled a folded document from a leather folder. Article 9. Unauthorized Vehicle Restoration Projects. My car isn't a project. It appeared abandoned. It has current registration. It wasn't moved for 4 days. I was recovering from surgery. Damian shrugged. The board decided immediate removal was necessary. You don't remove a car by crushing it. It seemed efficient. Several neighbors stood frozen on the sidewalks. Nobody dared interrupt. Everyone knew Damian. Everyone feared him. For 3 years, he'd fined families over flower colors, children's bicycles, mailbox decorations, and even holiday lights left up one day too long. But this crossed every line imaginable. The tractor operator climbed down. "I'm sorry, sir." He looked shaken. "I thought this was city equipment removing junk vehicles." Damian shot him a cold glare. "You're finished here." The man quickly climbed into his pickup truck and left without another word. I looked back at my Charger. It was destroyed beyond repair. The front suspension had collapsed. The roof was caved in. Oil flowed across the concrete like black blood. My fists clenched so tightly my nails dug into my palms. "You've just committed felony property damage." Damian laughed. "No, I've enforced community standards." My wife, Olivia Mercer, rushed outside. She gasped. "Oh my God." She covered her mouth. "Ethan," I could hear her trying not to cry. "That car wasn't just transportation. It had belonged to my late father. We restored it together before cancer took him. Every bolt, every panel, every late-night memory. Now it looked like a crushed soda can." Damian glanced at Olivia without the slightest hint of sympathy. "Perhaps next time you'll read the HOA handbook." Olivia stepped forward. "You destroyed someone's family memories. It was a vehicle. It was his father's." Damian rolled his eyes. "Sentimental value has no legal standing." I took one step toward him. Neighbors gasped. Damian immediately smirked. "There it is. The aggression. I was wondering how long it would take." He wanted me to lose control. He wanted witnesses saying I attacked him. Instead, I stopped. I took a slow breath. Then I smiled. That confused him. "You think this is funny?" he asked. "No. I think you're making the biggest mistake of your life." He chuckled. "I seriously doubt that." Police arrived 15 minutes later. Officer Rachel Stone stepped out of her patrol SUV. She surveyed the driveway. "What happened here?" Before I could answer, Damian stepped forward. "I'm Damian Crow, HOA president. We removed an abandoned vehicle under association authority." Rachel frowned. "You removed it?" "Yes." She looked at the car. "You mean destroyed it?" Damian hesitated. "It was necessary." Officer Stone turned toward me. "Sir, my name is Ethan Mercer. I own this house. I own that car. I have the title. I have insurance." And this man intentionally ordered a tractor to crush it. Rachel's expression immediately changed. She asked one question. "Did you have a court order?" Damian blinked. "No." "Permission from the owner?" "No." "Authorization from a city?" "No." Silence. Rachel slowly closed her notebook. "I don't believe an HOA has authority to destroy private property." Damian forced a smile. "Our legal department disagrees." Rachel replied calmly. then your legal department is about to have a very difficult week. Several more officers arrived. The neighborhood filled with flashing red and blue lights. Residents gathered in clusters, whispering. Phones recorded everything. Damien suddenly looked less confident. Still, he kept insisting he had authority. He even handed officers copies of HOA rules. Rachel skimmed them for less than 30 seconds, then handed them back. Nothing here authorizes destruction of personal property. Damien's smile faded. As a tow truck prepared to haul away what remained of my Charger, Noah Pierce, my next-door neighbor, quietly walked over. Noah. He glanced toward Damien to make sure he wasn't listening. Then he leaned close. Ethan, I think I have something. What? My security system. I frowned. It faces your driveway. My heartbeat quickened. It records 24 hours a day. You mean? Noah nodded slowly. It captured everything. Every single second. For the first time that morning, I saw genuine fear appear on Damien Crow's face. Damien Crow didn't know it yet. The smile he'd worn while my father's car was crushed was already becoming the evidence that would destroy him. As Officer Rachel Stone continued documenting the damage, my neighbor, Noah Pierce, quietly motioned for me to follow him. Ethan, he whispered, don't say anything to Damien. Come with me. We walked into Noah's house, leaving the growing crowd outside. His home security monitor displayed 4 different camera angles around his property. One camera pointed directly toward my driveway. Noah clicked the playback timeline. There, he said. The screen showed my driveway at 7:12 a.m. My untouched Dodge Charger sat exactly where I had parked it the night before. A minute later, a flatbed trailer carrying a large green tractor rolled into the neighborhood. My stomach tightened. Damien stepped out of his black luxury SUV wearing the same navy blazer he had on now. He wasn't reacting to a problem. He had arrived with a plan. He shook hands with the tractor operator, unfolded a set of papers, and pointed directly at my Charger. The camera had no audio, but Damien's gestures said everything. Then came the most unbelievable part. The tractor operator hesitated. He shook his head. Even without sound, it was obvious he wasn't comfortable. Damien became visibly angry. He jabbed a finger toward the car, then toward the tractor, and finally pulled something from his pocket. Cash. Several folded bills. The operator looked around nervously before taking the money. My jaw clenched. He bribed him, I muttered. Noah slowly nodded. It sure looks that way. The recording continued. Damien stepped safely away from the driveway. Then he pulled out his phone. He actually smiled. He wasn't calling anyone. He was recording the destruction himself. The tractor bucket slammed into my Charger. Crunch. Metal folded inward. The hood twisted like paper. Glass exploded across the driveway. Damien laughed. Actually laughed. Olivia covered her mouth. I can't believe this. Neither could I. No normal person smiled while destroying someone else's property. The footage became even worse. After the tractor stopped, Damien walked over to the crushed Charger and kicked the driver's door twice. Then he pointed toward the engine bay as if instructing the operator to hit it again. The second impact destroyed what little remained. Noah paused the video. The room fell silent. Officer Rachel Stone stared at the screen. Mr. Mercer, she spoke slowly. This isn't an HOA enforcement action. She looked directly at Damien through the living room window. This is intentional felony vandalism. Outside, Damien noticed everyone looking toward Noah's house. His confidence disappeared. He hurried across the lawn. What are you people doing in there? Officer Stone stepped outside before he reached the porch. Mr. Crow, I'd like to ask you a few questions. Damien straightened his tie. Of course. Did you hire that tractor? No. Did you instruct the operator? No. Did you pay him? Absolutely not. Officer Stone didn't respond. Instead, she simply turned the security monitor toward the front window. Damien saw himself on the screen handing cash to the operator. His face turned white. For several seconds, no one spoke. The neighbors gathered outside could clearly see the footage through Noah's large front window. Whispers spread through the crowd. That's Damien. He paid the driver. He's finished. Damien tried to recover. That's not what it looks like. Officer Stone folded her arms. Then what does it look like? I was paying an equipment rental fee. The tractor wasn't yours. I was helping. The driver told us he believed he was removing an abandoned city vehicle. Damien swallowed. He misunderstood. Officer Stone pressed further. So he misunderstood after you handed him cash? Damien had no answer. The silence said more than words ever could. At that moment, another black SUV pulled into the neighborhood. 3 members of the HOA board stepped out. Victor Hale, Monica Reeves, and Carl Benson. Someone had called them after seeing the police. Victor looked at the destroyed Charger and froze. What happened here? Damien immediately walked toward them. They're trying to frame me. Officer Stone interrupted. No one's framing anyone. She invited the board members inside to watch the footage. 30 seconds later, Victor slowly removed his HOA badge. He looked disgusted. You told us the vehicle was abandoned. Damien said nothing. You told us the city had approved removal. Still nothing. You never mentioned using a tractor. Nothing. You never mentioned destroying it. The board members exchanged uneasy glances. Monica finally spoke. Damien, did you lie to us? He looked around desperately, realizing he was losing control. It was necessary. Victor shook his head. No, it was criminal. Outside, dozens of neighbors now stood along the sidewalks. For years they had watched Damien bully families, issue ridiculous fines, threaten homeowners, and abuse his authority. Today, the fear was gone. People started speaking openly. He fined us $500 because our Christmas lights stayed up one extra day. He threatened to tow my son's truck. He tried taking our garden. He bullied my elderly mother. Every story sounded worse than the last. Officer Stone quietly listened. She realized this wasn't an isolated incident. It was a pattern. Damien looked around and saw the neighborhood turning against him. For the first time since becoming HOA president, he stood completely alone. Then another police SUV arrived. 2 detectives stepped out. Officer Stone handed them a flash drive containing Noah's CCTV footage. One detective watched the video on tablet. When it ended, he looked directly at Damien. Mr. Crow, we're going to need you to come with us for further questioning. Damien forced a nervous laugh. This is ridiculous. The detective's expression never changed. No, destroying someone's vehicle with a tractor is ridiculous. As the detectives walked toward him, Damien slowly took a step backward, then another. His eyes darted toward his SUV. Officer Stone noticed immediately. Don't do it, she warned. For one dangerous second, it looked like Damien was about to run. For one tense second, the entire neighborhood fell silent. Damien Crow's eyes darted toward his black SUV. Officer Rachel Stone noticed it immediately. Don't do it, she warned. Instead of answering, Damien spun around and sprinted toward the driver's door. Gasps erupted from the crowd. He's running. The detective lunged forward, but Damien yanked the SUV door open, jumped inside, and slammed it shut. The engine roared to life. Tires, one officer shouted. The SUV shot backward, narrowly missing a mailbox before fishtailing onto the street. Officers rushed to their patrol vehicles as sirens exploded through Cedar Ridge. The chase had begun. From my driveway, I watched the flashing lights disappear around the corner. Olivia grabbed my arm. I can't believe he's actually running. He knows the CCTV destroyed his story, I replied. Officer Stone stayed behind with another detective. Mr. Mercer, she said, we'll need formal statements from you, your wife, and Mr. Pierce. We nodded and spent the next hour describing everything Damien had done over the past 3 years. Every threat, every fabricated fine, every abuse of power. The detective kept writing. This isn't just about your car anymore, he said quietly. What do you mean? He looked up. If other homeowners experienced similar misconduct, this could become a much larger criminal investigation. As we spoke, neighbors began forming a line. One by one, they stepped forward. The first was an elderly widow named Margaret Collins. Tears filled her eyes. Damien fined me $2,000 because my lawn wasn't cut while I was in the hospital. Officer Stone frowned. You were hospitalized? Margaret nodded. I showed him my medical paperwork. What did he say? She wiped away a tear. He told me illness wasn't an excuse for lowering property values. The detective wrote every word. Next came Marcus Delgado. He ordered contractors to remove my vegetable garden while I was at work. Did you authorize it? No. Did the HOA have a court order? No. The detective underlined something in his notebook. Another possible crime. Then came Sophia Bennett. My son has autism. She took a deep breath. We built a small sensory play area in our backyard. Damien called an eyesore. He threatened to fine us every day until we removed it. Olivia squeezed Sophia's hand. The detective looked increasingly disturbed. This wasn't the story of one corrupt HOA president anymore. It was the story of years of intimidation. Meanwhile, several miles away, Damien's escape didn't last long. Police cornered his SUV outside an abandoned construction site. Instead of surrendering, he drove through a locked gate. The steel gate crashed behind him, damaging another patrol vehicle. Officers surrounded the site. Through a loudspeaker, they ordered him to exit. Damien refused. For nearly 20 minutes, he sat inside his SUV, making frantic phone calls. None of them were answered. His attorney refused to pick up. The remaining HOA board members ignored him. Even his vice president sent one short text. "You're on your own." Back in Cedar Ridge, Noah suddenly remembered something. "Ethan, what is it?" "I have another camera." I looked at him. The side camera. It records the street. He hurried back inside. A few minutes later, he returned carrying another flash drive. Officer Stone inserted it into her laptop. The footage showed the previous evening. At 8:47 p.m., Damien parked across the street from my house. He stayed there for almost 40 minutes. He wasn't alone. The same tractor operator climbed into Damien's SUV. The two men talked. Damien unfolded neighborhood maps and pointed toward my driveway. Then he handed the operator a thick envelope. The detective paused the video. Premeditation. Officer Stone nodded. This wasn't a spontaneous decision. The detective continued watching. Damien then pointed directly toward Noah's house, toward the security cameras. He clearly knew cameras existed. So why didn't he care? Olivia asked. Noah zoomed in on the footage. Everyone leaned closer. Damien was pointing, not at the cameras, at the bushes beneath them. The next clip answered everything. At 2:13 a.m., a hooded man entered Noah's yard carrying a ladder. He climbed toward the security camera. But just before reaching it, the motion lights switched on. The startled man panicked, jumped off the ladder, and ran away. His face was hidden, but his jacket matched the one worn by the tractor operator. Officer Stone smiled. So they tried to disable the cameras. They failed. The detective shook his head. That makes this even worse. Later that afternoon, police searched Damien's office at the HOA headquarters. Inside, investigators discovered boxes filled with homeowner files. Many contained handwritten notes. Some simply listed addresses. Others contained personal comments. One file had my name written across the front. Ethan Mercer. Inside were photographs of my house, pictures of my charger, printed satellite images, copies of old HOA complaints. Sticky notes covered the pages. One read, "Won't cooperate." Another said, "Needs to be taught a lesson." Officer Stone stared at the folder. This wasn't enforcement. It was obsession. The biggest surprise came minutes later. Victor Hale, the former HOA board member, voluntarily arrived at the police station. "I need to tell you something." Detectives led him into an interview room. Victor looked exhausted. For months, Damien kept saying Ethan Mercer was embarrassing the HOA. He hated that Ethan questioned illegal fines during board meetings. Victor swallowed hard. 3 days ago, Damien said something I'll never forget. The detective leaned forward. "What did he say?" Victor answered slowly. He said, "If I destroy something he loves, the rest of the neighborhood will finally learn who's in charge." The room fell silent. That single sentence changed everything. The detectives no longer saw a property dispute. They saw intent, malice, and a deliberate plan to terrorize an entire community. As evening fell over Cedar Ridge, Officer Stone called me. "Ethan, we've recovered Damien." He surrendered. I let out a long breath. "Is it over?" There was a brief pause. "No. Tomorrow morning, we're executing search warrants at HOA headquarters. We believe there's much more hidden inside." Something in her voice told me this case had grown far beyond a destroyed car. And somewhere inside those offices, a secret was waiting to be uncovered. The next morning, Cedar Ridge didn't wake up to birds singing. It woke up to the flashing red and blue lights of 6 police vehicles parked outside the HOA headquarters. Television news vans lined the street. Reporters gathered behind yellow crime scene tape. Neighbors stood in stunned silence as detectives carried box after box of evidence out of the building. Officer Rachel Stone called me just after sunrise. "Ethan, you should come down here." Her voice was calm, but I could tell something significant had happened. When Olivia and I arrived, Detective Aaron Mills met us at the entrance. "You were right," he said. "This goes much deeper than your car." Inside the HOA office, every desk had been searched. Filing cabinets stood open. Computers had been seized. Stacks of financial records covered the conference table. Detectives had created separate piles labeled illegal fines, property complaints, bank records, confidential. One box immediately caught my attention. Across the top was written in black marker, "Special Enforcement." Detective Mills opened it carefully. Inside were dozens of homeowner files. Every folder belonged to someone who had publicly disagreed with Damian Crow. Mine sat right on top. He handed it to me. I slowly opened it. My stomach dropped. There were photos of my family taken from across the street. Pictures of Olivia gardening. Photos of me washing my car. Even one of us carrying groceries into the house. None of us had ever noticed someone watching. Olivia's face turned pale. He was spying on us. Detective Mills nodded. "It appears so." The detectives continued sorting through the files. Each one revealed another disturbing discovery. There were handwritten notes beside homeowners' names. Increase inspections. Issue maximum fines. Watch their visitors. Pressure until they comply. Margaret Collins' file contained copies of every medical document she had submitted to explain why she couldn't maintain her yard while recovering from surgery. Damian had written across the top in red ink. No exceptions. Marcus Delgado's file included photographs of his vegetable garden. Beside them was another note. "Destroy if necessary." Officer Stone shook her head. "This isn't management. This is intimidation." Just when everyone thought the evidence couldn't get worse, Detective Mills called us into Damian's office. We found a hidden safe. Inside were thousands of dollars in cash, luxury watches, property deeds, and a black leather notebook. The detective carefully opened it. Every page listed addresses, dollar amounts, and initials. "What is this?" I asked. The detective looked toward the forensic accountant standing nearby. She answered quietly, "We believe these are illegal payments." "From whom?" "We're still confirming." She flipped another page. Several contractor names appeared repeatedly. One of them immediately stood out. Lucas Turner, the tractor operator. Next to his name were multiple cash payments dating back nearly 2 years. Officer Stone frowned. So this wasn't the first time Damian paid someone to damage property. The room became silent. Hours later, detectives located Lucas Turner at his home. Faced with overwhelming evidence, he finally agreed to cooperate. In a recorded interview, Lucas admitted everything. "I never wanted to destroy Ethan's car." "Then why did you?" Detective Mills asked. Lucas lowered his head. "Damian told me the vehicle had been abandoned for months. He said the city had approved removal." He paused. When I hesitated, he offered me $5,000. The detective leaned forward. And afterward, Lucas sighed heavily. I realized something wasn't right. So I searched Ethan's address online. "What did you find?" "Pictures of the exact same Charger at local car shows." Lucas looked ashamed. That's when I knew I'd been lied to. The interview didn't stop there. Lucas revealed something even more shocking. "Damian hired me before." "For what?" Lucas swallowed hard. "Knocking down fences, breaking decorative mailboxes, removing landscaping, always belonging to homeowners who argued with him." Officer Stone stared in disbelief. "So he created HOA violations by damaging people's property himself." Lucas nodded. "Yes." By that afternoon, the story had spread across the entire state. News stations replayed the CCTV footage every hour. The image of Damian smiling while the tractor crushed my Charger became the face of corruption. Outside the courthouse, reporters surrounded residents from Cedar Ridge. Margaret Collins spoke through tears. "We thought nobody would ever believe us." Marcus Delgado held up photographs of his destroyed garden. Sophia Bennett described years of harassment against her family. One by one, the victims found their voices. Inside the county jail, Damien sat alone in an interview room. His expensive suit had been replaced with an orange jail uniform. For the first time in years, no one obeyed his orders. His attorney entered carrying a thick folder. Without saying a word, she placed it on the table. Damien opened it. His confidence vanished. Inside were printed photographs from Noah's CCTV, bank records, witness statements, financial ledgers, and Lucas Turner's signed confession. Damien slammed the folder shut. "This can't be happening." His attorney looked directly at him. "It already has." She took a slow breath. "The prosecutor is considering additional charges." "What charges?" She answered without emotion. "Conspiracy, felony property destruction, fraud, witness intimidation, evidence tampering, criminal harassment." Damien's hands began to shake. "There has to be a way out." "There isn't." She stood up. "Not anymore." As she reached the door, Damien called after her. "What happens now?" She paused for a moment before replying. "Tomorrow, the courtroom sees the CCTV footage. And after that, you'll be remembered as the HOA president who destroyed his own future with a tractor." Damien lowered his head. Outside the jail, the courthouse steps were already crowded with reporters, cameras, and angry homeowners. Everyone was waiting for the same moment. The trial, the evidence, and the verdict that would finally decide Damien Crow's fate. The county courthouse was surrounded before sunrise. News vans lined both sides of the street. Satellite dishes pointed toward the sky. Reporters stood shoulder to shoulder, waiting for the man who had turned a quiet neighborhood into a crime scene. Residents from Cedar Ridge filled the courthouse steps. Some carried photographs of damaged property. Others held folders containing years of HOA fines. For the first time, the community wasn't divided by fear. It was united by the truth. Olivia squeezed my hand as we walked through the courthouse doors. "You ready?" I looked at her and nodded. "I've been ready since the moment he crushed my father's car." Inside courtroom 3, every seat was occupied. Judge Eleanor Brooks entered. "Be seated." The room fell silent. At the defense table sat Damien Crow, wearing a gray suit instead of his usual expensive navy blazer. His confident smile was gone. Across from him, Prosecutor Daniel Reeves stood with a stack of evidence nearly a foot high. Judge Brooks looked toward the prosecutor. "You may begin." Reeves stepped into the center of the courtroom. "This case is not about an HOA enforcing neighborhood rules." He paused. "It is about a man who believed he was above the law." He pointed toward Damien, "and who used fear, intimidation, and destruction to control an entire community." The courtroom remained completely silent. The prosecution called its first witness, Noah Pierce. Noah walked to the stand and took the oath. "Mr. Pierce," Reeves asked, "who owns the CCTV system that recorded the incident?" "I do." "Does it operate continuously, 24 hours a day?" "Did you alter or edit the footage in any way?" "No." The prosecutor nodded. "Your Honor, the state moves to admit Exhibit 12. Judge Brooks looked toward the defense. "Any objection?" Damien's attorney slowly stood. "No objection. Exhibit 12 is admitted." The courtroom lights dimmed. The CCTV footage appeared on a large screen. Every juror leaned forward. The video showed Damien arriving with the tractor. It showed him handing cash to Lucas Turner. It showed him pointing toward my Charger. Then came a sound everyone would remember. Crunch. The tractor slammed into my car. Gasps echoed throughout the courtroom. Several jurors visibly flinched. The footage continued. Damien smiled. He laughed. He ordered the operator to strike the car again. The second impact completely destroyed it. When the video ended, the courtroom remained silent for several long seconds. Judge Brooks removed her glasses. "I have seen many property cases during my career." She looked directly at Damien. "I have never seen conduct like this." The next witness was Lucas Turner. He admitted accepting money from Damien. "I was told the vehicle was abandoned." "When did you realize that wasn't true?" the prosecutor asked. When I saw Ethan's family running outside, Lucas looked toward me. I knew immediately I'd been lied to. He lowered his head. I'm sorry. The prosecutor then displayed bank records showing multiple payments from Damien to Lucas over 2 years. Mr. Turner, were those payments for legitimate HOA work? No. What were they for? Lucas swallowed. Damaging homeowners' property. The courtroom erupted with whispers. Judge Brooks struck the gavel. Order. One by one, more witnesses testified. Margaret Collins described being fined while recovering from surgery. Marcus Delgado told the jury how his vegetable garden had been destroyed. Sophia Bennett explained how Damien targeted her autistic son. Victor Hale testified that Damien had once said, "If I destroy something he loves, the rest of the neighborhood will finally learn who's in charge." Every statement painted the same picture. This wasn't one mistake. It was years of calculated abuse. Finally, I was called to the witness stand. The prosecutor asked only one question. Mr. Mercer, what did that car mean to you? I looked toward the jury. My father and I restored that Charger together. He passed away before we finished. I paused. Every scratch we repaired. Every part we installed. Every late night in the garage. It wasn't just a car. It was the last piece of time I had with him. The courtroom was completely silent. When Damien destroyed it, he wasn't just crushing metal. He was trying to crush every memory attached to it. I looked directly at Damien. But he failed, because memories can't be destroyed with a tractor. Several jurors wiped away tears. Even the court reporter paused for a moment. The defense tried to argue that Damien believed he was acting within HOA authority. Judge Brooks interrupted. Show me one HOA rule that authorizes destroying a homeowner's vehicle. The defense attorney searched through several documents. She couldn't find one. There isn't one, Your Honor. Judge Brooks nodded. I thought so. After 6 hours of testimony, closing arguments began. The prosecutor stood before the jury one final time. Ladies and gentlemen, this case began with a crushed car, but it revealed something much larger. It revealed what happens when power goes unchecked. The defendant believed a title gave him authority. He forgot something. In this country, no HOA president is above the law. The jury deliberated for less than 2 hours. When they returned, every person in the courtroom stood. The foreperson handed the verdict to the bailiff. Judge Brooks unfolded the paper. Her voice was calm and unwavering. On the charge of felony criminal mischief, guilty. On the charge of conspiracy to commit property destruction, guilty. On the charge of fraud, guilty. On the charge of witness intimidation, guilty. On the charge of criminal harassment, guilty. Damien closed his eyes. The judge continued. This court sentences Damien Crowe to 8 years in state prison, restitution for all documented victims, and a lifetime prohibition from serving as an officer or director of any homeowners association within this state. The gavel struck. So ordered. Outside the courthouse, applause erupted. Neighbors hugged one another. Some cried. Others simply smiled, relieved that years of fear had finally ended. Several months later, Cedar Ridge held its first HOA election under complete transparency. Victor Hale became the new president. Every financial record was made public. The abusive rules were repealed. Families who had been unfairly fined received restitution. As for me, the insurance settlement, court order restitution, and civil damages allowed me to restore another classic Dodge Charger, this time in my father's favorite deep metallic blue. On the day I drove it home, the entire neighborhood came outside to celebrate. No fear, no intimidation, just neighbors enjoying a peaceful afternoon. I parked in the same driveway where my old Charger had been destroyed. Olivia smiled and slipped her hand into mine. You finally got justice. I looked toward Noah's security camera mounted above his garage and smiled. No, we all did. Sometimes bullies believe power makes them untouchable. Sometimes they think fear will keep the truth buried forever. But cameras don't lie. Evidence doesn't forget. And sooner or later, justice always finds its way home.
Subscribe the channel and press the bell icon for new updates.